Hello, welcome to our podcast on co-parenting in family law. My name's Claire Colbert. I'm from Family Mediation and Mentoring. I'm here with Marcie Shaoul of the Co-Parent Way, and we're going to have a chat with you about how co-parenting can work in family law. I'm really pleased to be interviewing Marcie. I've known Marcie for a very long time. She is founder of the Co-Parent Way. She brought co-parenting to the UK in 2016. She's an expert in this field and award-winning. And she's part of the co-parenting element of the Parenting After Parting Committee, which we're both on for resolution. She has a groundbreaking new book coming out in March, published by Penguin, that we're going to chat a bit about today. And her website has some fantastic resources for parents who are separating, along with a 6-step online program for parents, which I can only recommend based on what my clients have told me. So hello, Marcie. Great to see you. How are you?
Oh, thanks, Claire. What an introduction. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Looking forward to grilling you today.
Yeah. I'll probably get the giggles. So
No, don't. No, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. So just to start off, for those that might be listening, what is co-parenting and why is it important?
So co-parenting is when parents who are separating, or in this context, we're talking about separating parents, right? But when parents who are separating work together with their children as their primary focus so they can continue to raise their children even though they're not together as a couple anymore. And it's all about how they communicate with each other, how they talk with each other, how they make decisions together, and continue to be parents despite everything that might be going on around them about their separation. And the reason it's important is because when we separate as parents, that creates a fracture for a child. And we need to really make sure we take responsibility as parents to continue to work together to raise them, because it protects our children's mental health, emotional well-being, resilience, happy kids, basically. And so co-parenting is about a choice that we make. It's not necessarily about being friends with your ex. It's about creating a good enough situation so kids can grow up with their parents, talking to each other and parenting them.
So how is co-parenting different to other types of parenting after separation?
That's a great question. So there's not really a legal definition of co-parenting as such, but co-parenting is not necessarily like shared parenting, which I'll describe in a minute, and nor is it like parallel parenting. So parallel parenting, if we start there, is when it's very difficult for parents to communicate. There may be very high conflict. There may be safeguarding issues. All sorts of things might have happened, and it's when parallel parenting is when one parent parents a child in their house, the other parent parents a child in their house, and there is no communication. There are no bridges, if you like, in that parenting of those children. And shared parenting, if you think of shared parenting more in terms of time rather than in method, shared parenting is about splitting in equal amounts of time. You don't need to communicate in shared parenting. It's obviously better if you do. And then co-parenting is not about time. It's about how you communicate, how cooperative you are. So cooperative parenting just means that whatever the makeup of where your child is staying and when, you are still parenting together.
Okay, so quite different.
Okay. Yeah.
And you're a co-parenting coach. Tell me what a co-parenting coach is for those of people that don't know.
So in 2016, I brought this idea of co-parent coaching to the UK, and it was something that existed in the States a little bit, and it was born out of my own experience. I became a co-parent in 2009, and I was also working in the diplomatic service as a kind of in the space between NGOs and governments, helping them to communicate. And after my own separation, I retrained to become an executive coach. And what I realized was that all of those different elements for parents who are separating could be useful. The coaching techniques, the communication techniques for parents who were in a kind of state of turmoil, if we could somehow use that in a coaching capacity, could be a really useful thing. So out of my own experience from being a co-parent in my career, I developed this idea of a co-parenting coaching methodology. And that's kind of how it was born for me. And I work with parents. I used to work with them primarily kind of one-on-one. And now we run a program that's aimed at training and teaching how to co-parent without conflict for parents who find themselves in this situation. And coaching, there are loads of amazing coaches out there, divorce coaches and other co-parent coaches. And it's really about walking side by side with your clients to help them get to a place where they can find like solid ground again in a situation where they may not be feeling particularly anchored. And coaching is about helping, kind of linking arms with someone, not telling them what to do, but you might give them lots of tools and techniques and practical tips to enable them to do what they need to do. For our methodology, we come at it in a slightly different way. We've kind of come from that place of pure coaching, and we've found ourselves in this place where we have a methodology that works. And it really is a kind of 6-step process to help move parents into a conflict-free way of communication with each other. And it's much more of a training approach now, with some kind of wraparound support. And we find that works really well because often when you're coaching someone, they're very much still caught in their story of their separation. And what we need to do is to help parents focus forward on where they need to get to in a more long-term way.
So I suppose that kind of leads to my how question. How do you do that? So you have the 6 steps. Tell me how you work with the parents.
So you can either buy the book, which has the 6 steps in it, or you work with us through our online program, which is a webinar based approach. So it's completely anonymous. So parents don't know who else is on it, because we have to do that because you have to keep the anonymity and the safeguarding.
That's really important.
Really, really important. And we teach the 6 steps in a kind of online sessions. There are 3 online sessions a week. One of those is a 90-minute learning piece where they learn about one of the steps and all of the practical tools that go within that step. So what we find is that the more practical tools that we can give parents, the easier it is for them to go away straight away and start implementing it. And when they start implementing it, it becomes quite apparent very quickly that, actually I've got something that works here, something to lean on. And they stay in the program and they kind of complete the program with 20 practical tools that they can use so they can work together as co-parents. So that's the bulk of the learning. There's also an anonymous Q&A session each week that we run as in a webinar format as well.
Brilliant.
And there's also a really nice part of the week that we call Win Your Week, where parents come on and they put in the chat, what's gone well for them, what tools have gone well for them, and what techniques have they used that have
sharing those brilliant experiences.
Yeah. And the sharing piece is really good, because what that means is other parents who might be finding it difficult go, oh, okay, well, Billy Joe, I don't know where I just pulled that name from, but Billy Joe has done step 4 about active listening, and it's really working for them. And so I'm going to try that now. I'm going to be brave enough to try it. And so we have all of those sessions in a week, and we provide a little bit of wraparound care as well. So a one-on-one coach once a week for 15, 20 minutes to help with the accountability, because we've all gone on programs and courses where we've gone, oh yeah, this is great, but I'm a bit distracted, or I'm not. Well, actually, our end user is really the kids of those parents, and we really need to help those parents take responsibility for implementing the techniques and the tools that we are teaching them. So that 15-minute accountability call becomes really important, because the parents can then go, oh, do you know what? I really want to try that, but I'm too nervous, or that my ex won't respond in a way that's what's the point of even trying? And so we really kind of stand side by side with them and go, okay, well, let's just try it on a work colleague, try this tool on your parents, and we help them to see that the tools work and help them to be brave to kind of step over the threshold to try them out. And of course, there's all sorts of other things in the program. There's scripts for when things get difficult. There's online video recordings. There's Experts Corner where they can see interviews with mediators and therapists and lawyers and all of those kinds of things. So we run a really good program that seems to be working
Fabulous
well.
resources. And so say that's all gone brilliantly well. They've got the tools, they've mastered the tools, they're using the tools. How does communication look different then? How has it changed?
Because it becomes much more business-like if you're in high conflict, and much more respectful, and the communication becomes focused on making decisions. So if you imagine like a Venn diagram, like we did when we were at school, so, two circles and an overlap in the middle. The overlap in the middle is the co-parenting space where both parents can come into to communicate, resolve, make decisions together, and help their children move forward from whatever situation and decision they need to. But the circle on one side is one parent's life, and the circle on the other side is the other parent's life. And so they have their own separate lives that are kind of fulfilled, hopefully, and happy, and with their stuff going on in their work. But when they come together, it's very focused. So going through the method means that you understand how to put those boundaries in place, which makes it much easier to communicate in a small, short way with your co-parent to continue to parent together. And so the communication becomes, I call it transactional, much more transactional. So like if you go into a shop and you buy something, you're polite and you're respectful, or you go to work and you've got to do a project with somebody you don't massively like at work, you still have to do the project. You still have to get over the kind of the stuff that you feel about that person to deliver. And we kind of approach that in the same way for co-parents who are in conflict, and, where trust has broken down, right? You must have seen that a lot, Claire, in your work. I don't trust her. She's unreliable. Okay, so you've got to find a way through that. And that's what the work does that we do.
And I presume that's a bit like muscle memory. Once you've started doing it, it becomes much easier. You do it without really thinking about it in the same way you might at the beginning.
For sure. I mean, at first it might feel really weird and awkward, right? I might teach something called the 5 steps of active listening, where parents have to kind of communicate and listen and not speak and pause and wait for their ex to finish speaking. And that might feel really uncomfortable for some people and awkward because they're used to jumping in. Yeah. But I'm kind of the position really where I don't mind if it feels awkward, if it keeps you out of conflict, if it stops conflict escalating. Who cares if you feel a little bit uncomfortable or a bit squirmy, if that's even
better than the feelings that it could be if we get to that really awful point.
Exactly. And what we want to do always is to stop conflict escalating, because as soon as it escalates, you're in a whole different dimension.
Yeah. And so tell me how you work with other family law professionals, so the lawyers, the mediators, the advisors, Marcie. How do you fit into all those options?
Usually, lawyers and mediators will refer their clients back to us at the Co-Parent Way, and we take them through the program. I also go into law firms and I talk about the method that we run and how it can be helpful for their clients. And we also sometimes train lawyers in how to do elements of it themselves. With some mediators, I will go and sit in on a mediation and work with the mediator to help kind of be the co-parenting angle of that. But most of the work now that we do is taking parents through our program, because we can reach more people like that.
Absolutely. And have the impact where it's needed the most.
Exactly.
And so you and I are both on the resolution committee, Parenting After Parting. We've been talking a lot in committee meetings lately about the resolution code. Tell me how you think the code is important to families, or why you think the code is important.
First of all, it's so important that resolution exists, because it provides a space for, lawyers mediators, families, and parents to kind of trust in the service providers that they're hiring, because the code is all about preventing conflict or mitigating conflict, and really finding other ways around protecting finding other ways around conflict. So alternative dispute resolution. It looks at putting the child front and center, and it becomes a beacon, really, in my opinion, for family lawyers to if you're a member of resolution, I think that says an awful lot about what you want to achieve from your professional life, and in terms of how you feel responsible back to parents and back to children as a practitioner. And it's one of those things that I think now in the landscape and the context of no fault divorce, that becomes really important. We all have a responsibility as practitioners working in this sector to really do no harm. Let's not do any more harm than what's happening already. Let's make it better. Let's be collaborative, and not just from lawyer to parent, but from lawyer to lawyer. The kind of language that's used is critical. It's critical for de-escalating conflict. We all know the letters sent on a Friday afternoon are like, horrific. But having the code is one of those things that keeps us all accountable.
And keeping the children right at the centre is the pure essence of that co-parenting piece you're doing, because how parents communicate is a massive impact on the children. As a mediator, I see that all of the time. And when I meet with children quite often talk about the way their parents communicate, even when they don't think their parents know that they know, or their parents don't think the children know. The communication ripples down, and the code is all about, well, partly about, making sure the children are really kept forefront and center of what we're talking about.
100%. And for anybody that's listening that doesn't know, there's a resolution guide called Parenting Through Separation, which is an amazing resource. It was produced by the Parenting After Parting Committee.
We're very proud of it.
We're very proud of it. It's a super resource. It talks about those things. It talks about how parents can approach things in different ways. It's a simple but highly effective tool that all resolution members should be using with their clients.
And all parents should be able to get a hold of. I mean, it's a free download from the resolution website. They can read it online. It's there. They can buy copies. It's just such a useful guide that you are such a brilliant contributor to, along with the rest of the committee. But it's just a really go-to place, I find, where understanding what impacts there are on children at different ages, how we can talk to the other parent, how we can deal with extended family, how we can deal with different issues that might crop up on that journey, with new partners, with moving house, with things that come in our way that we might not see at the point we're first separating. So definitely something we could recommend, which is probably like your book, which I cannot wait to get my hands on. Tell me a bit about the book, Marcie.
So the book's being published by Penguin, the mighty Penguin. I mean, goodness me. And it's been something that's been at the back of my mind for a while. Have this methodology. It works. How can we reach more people? We have an online program that's great, but you can only, short of, taking a big announcement out, that's not possible to reach everybody. So a book felt like the way to go. And as soon as we approached Penguin, they jumped at the chance. And
not
so
surprised.
It's great. It's been a year in the making, and it's been refined. It's refined the work that we did already, and made it better. So we've got this product now that has become the 6 steps, which is now reflected in the program that we teach. And the 6 steps are as follows, basically. So you go into step 1, and you're teaching parents about why it's important to co-parent. What's the value of a long-term mindset, and why do you need to get into a long-term mindset and out of that win-lose headspace that so many parents are often in when they kind of start to separate. And the practical tools around that are helping to set the foundation so you have a good relationship with your children going forward and into their adulthood, because children are adults. Your children are going to be adults for longer than their children. And we want to preserve that long-term relationship for as much as possible. And then the second step is about, okay, so I'm in this situation. I've got a co-parent, but oh my God, I don't trust this person. I'm mad as hell. I don't like them. And my whole world is falling apart and everything's catastrophic. Yeah, exactly. Help. So we teach very practical tools in step 2 to help parents manage those strong emotions and contain them, right? Not to say that they don't exist at all, because that's not,
we can't make that emotion go away.
No, but you can contain it enough to be able to do the rest of the co-parenting that you need to do for short periods of time. So remember that Venn diagram I referred to earlier. You know, if you're able to contain just for the little bit that you need to do the co-parenting for, then that's helpful. And then the third step is about managing the boundaries. It's about seeing things from other perspectives, and why that's important, right? Because you may not like your ex anymore, but they are still the other parent of your child, and they still have a valid perspective. So the step 3 is all about how you help parents kind of accept that, even though they really, really, really may not want to, and kind of step into that, and set some boundaries around that. And then step 4, which is the one everybody wants, it's communicating without conflict. And in that we teach, that's kind of a big part of the book. We teach around how to listen well, how to not use inflammatory language, how to reframe some of the words and phrases that you might say that might cause kind of a massive reaction from your other parent, and those parts of that step are critical. And then the 5th step is, how do you make really good decisions? What's the framework for making decisions with your co-parent? How can you do it in a way that doesn't then tumble back into the story of your separation, but stays very much focused on your children and going forward? And then finally, it's moving and taking all of that from kind of just survival mode that we're all in. You know, I'm a co-parent too. I started my co-parent journey in 2009, and I was very much in survival mode. How do you move from survival mode into thriving? And that's not just about kind of eating broccoli and doing breathing. That's very much about looking at what are the things that you can control, what are the things that you can't control, what are the 4 types of stress that arise in co-parenting, and how do you kind of stamp those out? And so it still becomes very practical. So yeah, we're delighted with it, and we're really delighted that the president of the family division, Sir Andrew McFarlane's written as an amazing, resounding endorsing and forward for the book, which is
Brilliant,
really cool
and well deserved. Which I suppose then, you know, I can't wait to get my copy. Is that your proudest achievement, or are there others? Because there are so many, Marcie. The awards, the brilliant course, the fantastic website, bringing co-parenting coaching to the UK. What's the proudest one?
Work-wise?
Well, home-wise, if you want to, but work-wise too.
It's my kids, right?
Absolutely.
You know, my family. Work-wise, it's the book. It's the method and the book, and
That's
the
another baby.
Pardon?
It's your baby. No, it is your baby. No, it is your baby, the book. I'm not saying you're having another one. I'm saying it's your baby.
It's my baby. And I think the thing that I'm proud about is that there's a potential for change. And that's really all that drives me, is making the world a better place for those kids. And if I can achieve that a bit, would be amazing.
Massively important and really exciting, really fulfilling. And I know you can do it. So for people to get to know you, Marcie, and I'm lucky enough to, tell me, you're off to a desert island. What 3 things are you taking? Apart from your book,
really
obviously. Apart from your book, you've got to leave your book behind.
I'm leaving it behind. That is really difficult. I would take my Kindle.
Excellent.
Because I'm actually an introvert, so I love to kind of hide behind a good story. I'd take my family. Am I allowed to take my family? I'd take my family.
Not sure that quite counts, but okay.
All right, then I'd take the radio, because there's all sorts of things on the radio.
Excellent.
Bucket load of wine. Am I allowed to do that?
Perfect. I'm coming too then.
Okay, great. Come on.
As a plan. Not quite a desert island then. Thank you so much, Marcie. It's been so helpful. I hope everyone buys the book. I hope everyone goes onto the website. I hope parents get real access to this because it could make such a fundamental change. Thank you for talking to me today, and hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Claire.